Today, we're going to focus on AR's creation of the American narcotic industry. Now, don't worry, guys, I'm going to be doing a whole AR series to give you guys the full skinny, but I found some stuff I wanted to share with you, alright? So, before Carmine Galante, before the French Connection, before Matty Madonna and Ike Atkinson, there was Arnold Rothstein. We all know that Arnold was a big-time gambler. He created the floating card game, he fixed the World Series, and he was the first big-time bootlegger. AR saw the potential of illegal booze and was ready when Prohibition went into law. He set up a smuggling operation that would bring in the good stuff, not that bathtub gin, homemade beer, or whatever concoction that the local hoods put together in their basement stills. Arnold made sure that the people with money had access to the best. He had champagne, Irish and Canadian whiskey, and rum from the Caribbean. Arnold was the big bankroll. He would loan money to aspiring bootleggers to get them on their feet for a cut. And he employed some of the most dangerous young gangsters in New York. Guys like Charlie Lucky, Meyer Lansky, Louis Lepke, and Legs Diamond. He turned them from street thugs to illegal businessmen. Prohibition era in New York was a rough place, full of men wanting to do whatever it takes to become rich. AR was always looking ahead, and what he saw was another illegal market that he could exploit. H was created in 1898 in Germany. It was first seen as a wonder drug, and it was prescribed as an alternate to codeine and morphine. But by 1904, a report came out and said that it could be dangerous. The first place where addiction became a problem was the U.S. And the epicenter of the addiction was New York City, where 98% of all drug addicts were reported to be addicted to H. Public health services provided the drug to addicts at relief stations. This was discontinued in 1916. In 1920, the House of Delegates of the American Medical Association at its 71st annual session adopted the following resolution: that H be eliminated from all medical preparations and that it should not be administered, prescribed, nor dispensed, and that the importation, manufacture, and sale of one should be prohibited in the United States. In 1922, there were 17 murders committed in London. There were 260 in New York City. H addiction was blamed for a number of them. Carlton Simon, Special Deputy Police Commissioner in New York, wrote in February 1924, 94% of the addicts arrested in New York City use regularly. It was calculated that 76,000 ounces yearly were used by the addicts who got their drugs off the streets in New York City alone. The entire amount of prescribed by the entire medical profession in the state of New York during the same period was 58 ounces. AR saw dollar signs. Now, he wasn't the first person to deal in New York, but his predecessors were small time. AR didn't do small time. Those guys would rob shipments of meant for hospitals or order bulk shipments from Canada or Mexico under fake company names and process the raw back in New York. But AR sent Harry Mather to Germany, where it was still legal to manufacture. He set up a deal and brought it in bulk and had it shipped to New York. AR did the same with coke. And by 1923, AR was the biggest distributor of both in the U.S. In 1923, a kilo of heroin cost $2,000. By the time it was cut and packaged into $10 or $15 bags and sold on the street, it could bring back $300,000 in the 20s. AR created a clearinghouse rate in the U.S. He was the only gangster in America with a line of credit with manufacturers in Europe. And he had customers waiting. Charlie Lucky said he would take all he could get. Same with Waxy Gordon, King Solomon from Boston, Nick Rosen in Philly, Capone and Torrio in Chicago, as well as dealers from Kansas City and Atlantic City. In 1925, AR said Sick Stadger, he was a user himself, but he was one of AR's closest pals to Asia to establish connections there. Sick visited China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, and was able to establish connections in each. A year later, AR sent George Uffner to Asia. Uffner would build relationships that would last well after AR's death. Uffner would be the go-to dope guy for Charlie Lucky, Lepke, and Frank Costello. In 1926, AR bought an importing house called Valentine's. Valentine's was a well-established importer of Asian goods. They had been at it so long that custom agents would only give a cursory inspection to the goods coming into them. AR used this to bring in his stuff from China. AR began to focus more and more on his drug operation. A lot of his free money went to bailing out his workers. In 1926, Lex Diamond was arrested along with Max Gross on drug charges. The bail was paid by a Detroit bail bondsman, and it was guaranteed by AR. On July 14, 1926, Charles Weber and William Vichunda were arrested for violating the Harris Act. But 20 minutes later, it was sprung by the same Detroit bail bondsman, again guaranteed by AR, for $25,000 each. In June of 1926, an employee of Rothstein Incorporated, AR's investment firm named Irvin Sobel, was arrested for wholesale dealing. AR paid his bail, but he got his money back when Sobel pleaded guilty. Jack Solomon took a pinch in 1927 for narcotics. Again, AR paid the bail. In 1928, AR's pal Sid Stadger was arrested for narcotics. AR sprung him, and he was out on bail when AR was killed. By 1928, it seems that AR's fortune had changed. He began losing money that he would normally have won, and he was becoming paranoid that someone was trying to kill him. One night when he came home to his apartment building, the front door was locked. AR rang the bell, but no one came. Then he noticed the doorman lying on the couch in the lobby. It looked like his hands were bound. AR took off. But when he came back a half an hour later, everything was normal. It was around that same time that a car full of men snatched the man in front of AR's building. They drove a few blocks before realizing that they only had a guy who looked like AR. From September 8th through the 10th, 1928, AR took part in a poker game at 161 54th Street. When it was over, AR was $300,000 in the hole. But no one worried. He was the big bankroll. He was good for it. He gave out his IOUs and went to Lindy's. But AR had made a business decision that left him out of cash at this time. On his last shipment, AR decided to reinvest his profits back in the more. But the men who he owed money to didn't know or care about this. By November, AR still hadn't paid his debt. To make it worse, he was going around saying that the game was fixed. On November 4th, 1928, AR was found in the basement of the Park Sheraton Hotel next to the trash compactor with a bullet in his gut. He was taken to the Potter Clinic Hospital, where he died the next day at 10:15 a.m. AR was waiting for $3 million in profits when he was killed. Arnold Rothstein built a framework and customer base that would over the years cause misery for many and make many men rich. And that, my friends, is the brief little story of America's first drug lord, Arnold Rothstein. If you're new to the channel and you want to join the gang, you like what we do over here, you gotta bump off that subscribe button so you can make your bones, alright? Then you gotta break that thumb like he owes you some money.